Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is set to introduce many different revelations that will lead to saga-wide implications in this story by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, what's really intriguing about Episode 9 is that we do know that this film is going to be an all-out war and a war to end all wars, as both J.J. Abrams and John Boyega have said at Star Wars Celebration and even over a year ago about this film, and that there's going to be a lot of chaotic moments in this scene where a lot of sacrifices and losses will also play into the actual movie, where there's going to be a lot of land battle sequences as well as space battle scenes within the second and third acts of Episode 9. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the concept art descriptions, this is where things begin to get a little bit worrisome for the character of Chewbacca in Episode 9. Now, specifically, what's really intriguing about all of this is that shot descriptions consisting of Rey, Poe, and Finn defending the Millennium Falcon on the large battlefield of the First Order, where it's described that they are fighting an army of Sith troopers who use heavy automatic blasters in this specific scene. Additionally, it said that one of the scenes involves Chewbacca coming in by surprise and using his bowcaster against the Sith troopers to protect Rey and her crew, where one of the scenes is said to involve Chewbacca getting and of course turning around and telling Rey to tell her to duck down, where a Sith trooper uses a projectile explosive toward Chewbacca while guarding everyone else that causes an explosion where Chewbacca flies backward onto the ground. It said that during the sequence Chewbacca is hurt bad, where in order to move Chewie, both Poe and Finn grab Chewie's arms, while Rey and Dominic Monaghan's character lift up Chewie's legs and quickly get him on board of the Falcon, where they are all circled around him, where Rey is resting her head on Chewbacca's chest while in the Falcon. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, this without a doubt is a big hint and or indicator of Chewbacca's death in The Rise of Skywalker. Now, this is of course something that a lot of fans are really worried about. Since we already lost Luke and Han Solo, a lot of fans don't want to see Leia, Lando, or Chewbacca bite the dust in Episode 9. Now, after all, we do know that Chewbacca died in the expanded universe by the whole entire, collision of the world into the moon and that stuff, but it really didn't make too much sense in Legends. From now, it seems that J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, as well as George Lucas, they're very well trying to do something with Chewbacca that's going to be very emotional at the third act of Episode 9 on the battlefield of the First Order. So, what's really going on here? Well, this is a sequence in which Chewbacca is defending both Rey, Poe, and Finn. It could be that Chewbacca is protecting his crew because maybe they are out of blasters, or maybe they are defenseless as the Sith troopers are coming into their position, where Chewbacca comes in by surprise and takes out many of the Sith troopers with his bowcaster. However, there's one that actually lives and is able to attack Chewbacca by use of a projectile explosive. Most likely it's going to be like a rocket launcher type of weapon that's going to be used on the battlefield of the First Order. So, where does this leave Chewbacca? Well, it leaves him on the ground, hurt really bad from what's being explained, where both Rey, Poe, Finn, and Dominic Monaghan's character lift him up by his arms and legs and quickly board him on the Millennium Falcon, where he's actually said to be unconscious to a certain extent, where they are all circled around him, where Rey, is getting very emotional and she rests her head on Chewbacca's chest. So, like I've always said before in the past, I think that if they kill off Chewbacca in this movie, a lot of fans are going to be very unhappy about that. Now, yes, mind you, this is the end of the Skywalker saga. Yes, this movie is going to have a lot of sacrifices and losses. In fact, I have a funny feeling that Poe Dameron's going to die in this movie, because initially J.J. Abrams wanted to kill off Poe Dameron in The Force Awakens, in case you guys did not know. In The Force Awakens, Poe was originally going to die in the first act, and if it weren't for Oscar Isaac, begging to come back and to be in the full movie, we wouldn't have Poe Dameron in, of course, all these episodes. So, moving on forward with Chewbacca now actually having, the help by, of course, Dominic Monaghan's character, Rey, Poe, and Finn, etc., helping him on board of the Millennium Falcon, it really does make one wonder, exactly what's going to happen to Chewbacca in this specific sequence. This by far is the biggest hint of Chewbacca's death in The Rise of Skywalker, and if he dies this way, I would honestly be a little upset and a little, I guess you could say, bummed out, because I feel like that, if anything, Chewbacca should die in a more, I guess you could could say, heroic way where maybe he dives into an explosion with the Millennium Falcon, more like, you know, going out in a blaze of glory type of thing, where in this scenario it was more or less getting hit by a blaster where Chewbacca didn't know it was coming. So if this is how he's going to die in Episode 9, I feel like a lot of fans wouldn't really agree with this by Abrams and everybody else involved with The Rise of Skywalker. Again, like I've always said before in the past, Chewbacca is a very well-known character, not just within Star Wars, but also within pop culture. He's pretty much, you know, as known as Darth Vader, without a doubt. You know, whenever you think about Star Wars, you usually think about Vader, Luke, Chewbacca, all those different characters, right? So I would really love to hear what each and every one of you have to say about this whole entire scenario on the battlefield of the First Order, and what you guys actually think about it. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.